What is up, everybody out there in HeroClix land? This is Scott Porter back for day 3 of our marvelous mutant unboxing series for HeroClix's new Ten of Swords set. That is right. This is day 3. We've already opened up 4 boosters. We've done the Play at Home kit and the Dyson Tokens pack. We see some of the things that are going to be appearing in this set, but I want so much more, and I hope the rest of you do as well. So far, we've had 1 super rare. That's it. No primes, no chases. And I'm just excited to see what is next. Our super rare was Deadpool, which gave us a clue that we weren't going to just be dealing with Ten of Swords characters or characters that were heavily involved in that story. And I think it's great because we do have the Ten of Swords organized play event that's coming up in August, September, and October. And there's going to be a ton of Ten of Swords in that as well. I think this is more giving us a wide array of other mutant characters as well as some of the main players within the Ten of Swords storyline crossover event. If you didn't read Ten of Swords, don't worry. I'm here to try and fill in some of the gaps. I do it very poorly compared to Jonathan Hickman, who is on X-Men, and Zeb Wells, who is writing Hellions, which is just a great tie-in to this entire thing. Teenie Howard, there is so many different writers, Jerry Duggan, that are doing great work or did great work in this event and then continued to do great work on the other side of it. Out of Ten of Swords came the Reign of X, which led to Planet-Size X-Men and the Hellfire Gala and a bunch of stuff after that. I thought we'd just be dealing with Ten of Swords, but we are dealing with a lot of stuff that happened in Reign of X. We are then going back in time and grabbing some of the stuff that happened in Dawn of X, which was the period of time between House and Powers of 10 or X, all the way through Ten of Swords. There was like a 2-year period there of books being created, like 12 issues basically of Excalibur, 12 issues of X-Men, and then we launched into Ten of Swords. So we're covering a lot of this Hickman period of time, this new age of mutants. I hesitate to say X-Men because it's a term that was stricken from the records by the Quiet Council. They put out a memo to everybody. We would prefer not to refer to anyone as X-Men any longer. X-Men are not a catch-all for mutants. We are mutants. We are a people. We are all one together. We are one nation, and we are all mutants, and we are all equal. And they didn't want the X-Men. And then after this event, they realized, you know what? We do still need a group of mutants that are willing to go fight and save us all in a very public manner, and they create the X-Men again on the other side of it. Cyclops and Jean Grey are the ones that do that, and it's very, very cool. Anyway, that's what we're getting in this set. I didn't know we'd be getting this wide of a range of characters, but I am here for it, and I hope you are as well. I can't wait to see what we pull next. I've done my best job the last couple of days trying to explain what Ten of Swords is. It's darn near impossible. If you've read anything that Hickman has done ever, his Avengers, his Secret Warriors, his Fantastic Four, you know, East of West, I mean, whatever it is, you know that it's impossible to give an elevator pitch, so to speak, of something. And something that is this wide, and it's not just him, this crossover event, there are so many threads to pull. Can't wait to see what we get. I did mention Hellions, and man, would I love to see some of the characters that are in Hellions. Empath, Grey Crow, Orphan Maker, Nanny. Such a crazy group of characters, but that book works so well. Quanon is in it. Havoc, my main man, Havoc, but unfortunately, he still retains some of the evil stuff that he got in him from was it Axis? I can't remember that, when he was in Uncanny X-Men, and so I want him purged of that immediately. That being said, let's get in today's unboxing series. I'd love to see some Hellions, but right now we have a generic. We have an Orcus soldier, which is good. That's a good generic to have. Orcus is this combination of human interests that have all gotten together to try and fend off this mutant issue. We do have a Hellion here, and it is the one and only Tarot. All right, there are tarot cards all in Ten of Swords, but she doesn't really play a huge part. She does get a reading very early, just like Saturnine does, or when Saturnine pulls her magical tarot cards and starts to read them. Here we have Emma Frost, very cool, And then we have Bishop again. This Bishop is the same one we've already pulled, so we don't have to worry about taking a look at him, as well as that Gorgon we have also pulled. So just 3 characters here to talk about right now. Gorgon, of course, we talked about, I think on day 1, we pulled the common and the uncommon in the same pack. And then Bishop we also pulled on day 1. So we'll set them aside. It's very interesting. The very beginning of Ten of Swords, Saturnine knows something is on the horizon, and she needs to be protected. She needs to figure out how to get the Captain Britain Corps back. She couldn't care less whether or not Earth really bites it, but she cares about Otherworld, and she cares about protecting the Omniverse. So when she does a reading of the very first tarot cards, Tarot, the mutant, wakes up in the middle of the night, and she also has her own read on all of it. So let's take a look at Tarot first. All right, let's see here. We've got Tarot. She has Hellions and X-Men keywords. She has a trait, Shifting the Fates. For all characters with this trait, when you would draw a tarot card from your deck, you may instead draw 2 and choose 1 to use and put the other one on the bottom of your deck. Oh, that's awesome. Reading the cards. Shape change. Free. Roll a d6. Tarot can use the corresponding power until your next turn. 1 to 3, perplex. 4 to 6, outwit. Okay, let's flip it over here, see what she has on the back. She's 30 points for all of that support power goodness. The tarot card thing is very, very cool. I was wondering if any of the figures in this set would have any sway over tarot cards, and Tarot is it. She's in that old style Hellions uniform. The very original Hellions were trained by Emma Frost when she was an enemy, actually, of the X-Men. When she wasn't, I know a lot of you guys out there probably only know Emma Frost, the White Queen, as an ally to the X-Men or as a member of the X-Men. She wasn't until the mid-90s. She was an enemy, and she had her own collection, Empath and Tarot, and a bunch of other characters that were in opposition to the X-Men, basically in opposition to the New Mutants. They were her own teenagers that she could tape and shape and mold, and she was Hellfire Club. So they were basically tools of that, tools to that end. And then she became more of an anti-hero, and now is just a flat-out hero. You know, now she's sitting on the Quiet Council of Krakoa, making decisions that affect all of the mutant race. But yeah, those original Hellions, it's pretty cool to see her. I didn't expect to. Empath is the one that I think I would have expected to see because, like, as I said, he's in Hellions. And in Hellions, Empath is incredible. Empath, wait, we've only seen Tarot, I think, once before, too, which is really cool because at least we're seeing a character come back into Modern. I think it was, man, I think that was way back in Giant Size or Uncanny, one of the two of them. But we've only seen her once, as well as a bunch of the other New Mutants. But Empath, as part of Hellions, he can affect people's emotional states and make them think things. It's not so much mind control, but he can sway somebody. It's very important. Mr. Sinister's Hellions are really just about forwarding Mr. Sinister's wants and desires. And what the Hellions do in the Ten of Swords event is convince the Quiet Council, hey, and Mr. Sinister does this himself, convince the Quiet Council, hey, we should go in, since we have no chance of defeating Arakko, this war-torn nation that's lived in a demon hellscape for years and years and years, and they're all raised to be the greatest warriors of all time. There's no way we beat them in a sword fight, so why don't you let me and my group go through the gate, stealthy-like, and steal their swords before they can find them so that we can make them forfeit, and then we win, and it's all good. And the Quiet Council says, okay, yeah, we'll let the Hellions go, but you have to lead them. And he's like, whoa, I'm not sure that they, and then they take the vote, and they're like, it's been decided, you're leading the charge. So they send Mr. Sinister and the rest of the Hellions through the gate. Hijinks ensue. Empath is a terrible person. Empath messes with somebody on the team at some point, and Grey Crow is a very violent man. He was an old character that Mr. Sinister used for a long time. He was an original Marauder, and he ends up killing Empath almost every single issue. And so there's a very much a hate-hate relationship between Empath and Grey Crow. You also have Havoc and Quanon trying to keep some semblance of, I don't know, sanity amongst this very, I don't know, they go on suicide missions basically, and they die almost every issue, and then they're reborn every issue, and then Mr. Sinister gets what he wants. And what you find out happens is Mr. Sinister actually wants to go into Otherworld and then into Amenth and Arakko, the island of Arakko itself, to not steal their swords, but to steal their mutant DNA, because that's what Mr. Sinister does. He has DNA in almost every mutant, and he's very interested in gene splicing and creating these eventual chimera mutants where you can pick from a suite of powers that you want on your own. And now he wants all these Arakkan mutants' powers. But he ends up walking in against a character that is definitely his match, and a character named Tarn, who is an actual, originally I think is from Amenth, not from Arakko. And he's from this devil world, Tarn the Uncaring. And he has his own group of mutants, and they rip the Hellions apart. Wild Child is a part of this team. He tries to save the rest of the Hellions as they barrel back towards the gate to try to get to freedom. And Mr. Sinister, once they get to the other side, just assassinates anybody who lived, and they can't remember anything. But the people that die in Amenth, you're not sure if they'll be able to come back the same way as they did. That's one of the great questions, because if you die in Otherworld, you can't be resurrected. But what if you die on Arakko or Amenth? And I'll let you guys read Hellions after that to see what happens. But great storyline, not to be missed, and it's a part of the 22-issue event that is Ten of Swords. But Hellions, Zeb Wells, man, one of the better Dawn of X books, period. It's comedic, it's dark. His characterization of Mr. Sinister is just, it's great. It's really, really, really wonderful. Moving on, we've got this Orcus Soldier here, all right. This Orcus Soldier, take a look at the card. Sorry, I did a little juke move there. We've got the Orcus Soldier has Sentinel, Robot, and Soldier keywords. Just protecting the Forge. Orcus is not going away. Orcus is a very interesting response to the mutant nation of Krakoa. Basically, AIM and Hydra and all of these other competing villain organizations decide to get together and put the best of humanity forward, in their opinion. And they are the ones who are responsible for trying to build Mother Mold and more Sentinels and eventually Nimrod. And that is always the downfall of mutant kind, is this techno future race. And it always starts with humanity. They always figure out a way to make a Nimrod, and then you go forward and you got Omega Sentinels, and you got all this stuff, and then that's the end. So Orcus, it's nice to have some foot soldiers for them. They're going to continue to be a pain in the mutants' sides going forward. Okay, we talked about the Hellions a lot. We have Emma Frost here, of course, now as a hero on the Quiet Council. Emma Frost, Hellfire Club, Hellions, and X-Men. Diamond form, free. Replace Emma Frost, with Ten of Swords number 100 Emma Frost on the same click number. So utterly predictable is a special defense power, super senses, but succeeds on a 4-6, protected outwit. And a special damage power, I must insist you call me the White Queen. Leadership, when Emma Frost uses it and succeeds, you may instead generate a bystander on this card. Each bystander on this card has max 1 bystanders. Okay, who does she generate? Oh, the Cuckoos! All 5 of them. Sophie, Phoebe, Irma, Celeste, and Esme. All of the girlfriends of Cable, that's right. He gets romantically involved, I think, with all 5 of them. But to date one of the Cuckoos is, I think, to date them all. I think you have no choice. The cool thing about the Cuckoos is, for a long time, they went down to 3, and then they were down to 2. A lot of the Cuckoos were killed over the time frame from when they were introduced in the Morrison run. But they're all back now, all 5 of them. And I think it's pretty cool here. I'm going to put this out here. We didn't actually get any of them in actual token form, but it would be cool if we got them in actual figure form. I think they'd be a couple of clicks longer, or maybe they would be all on like one dial where you could, you could pick which starting line you want to start off on. But you see, Sophie's got Mind Control, Phoebe's got Psychic Blast, Irma's got Outwit, Celeste has got Probability Control, Esme, who is probably the most famous Cuckoo, has Perplex, which is great. And you can generate all 5 of these onto the map and then have a suite of the support and Mind Control and Psychic Blasty powers. So that is pretty cool. I'm down with that. Now, the 100, the Ten of Swords, Emma Frost number 100, I think that is a prizing for when you play in store for release. I think that is the release OP. And so I think that's the release prize kit. I think if you play at your local gaming store, or your local comic shop, I think that's where you can win that particular Emma Frost. And it says Diamond form, so I'm guessing that one has a bunch of defensive powers because Emma Frost has a second mutation, and she can turn her entire body into Diamond and is nigh indestructible. But when she does, she loses her mental powers. So pretty cool. Okay. All right, burning right along. We only had 3 to look at, and there, I'll put her on this side because she was a villain at one point. And we will open this guy next. Oh, man. Oh, that Hellions run. Empath. The issue before the first issue of Hellions in Ten of Swords, if that makes any sense, the pre-crossover issue of Hellions, apparently they're on a plane somewhere, Empath does something crappy, and Greycoat just shoots him in the head. And so when Empath comes back in Ten of Swords, he tells Mr. Sin, I'm not helping you anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want to get killed anymore. I hate all of you. You all suck. Empath is a terrible human being. Not human being, sorry. A terrible mutant being, by the way. But he's like, Mr. Sinister says, look, no. You got to come with us. You got to help. He's like, look, I'll help if you let me make Greycrow my pet for this mission. And Greycrow hears him, and Greycrow's like, if you dare do anything to me, I'm going to cut you in half. And so later on in the issue, they get in a situation where they need Empath's help. And Empath turns to Sinister and is like, I told you, let me have control of Greycrow. And Greycrow stands up and pulls out both of his swords and goes, cut in half it is. And he starts walking towards him. And it's just one of the greatest frames. It's just... the grasp of comedy in Hellions is so fantastic, not just in the writing, but the framing of all of the panels are great as well. And so, yeah, cut in half it is, I hope is on Greycrow's dial if we get a Greycrow. That would be awesome. All right. Okay, let's see here. Oh, okay. Oh, we got a super rare, and it is not somebody I expected to get. So let's see what we got here. We got our super rare, which is Wolverine, but not Wolverine, Laura Kinney Wolverine, otherwise known as X-23. We have a different Cyclops here, rocking his black and red now. We have Magic, who we've already seen. We have another Cyclops, which this is the second time in these boosters that we've gotten a common and an uncommon version of a character together. We did it on day 1 with Gorgon, and now we've done it on day 3. So interesting. Out of this, we only have 2 characters we haven't seen yet. We only have X-23 and Cyclops. The other 3 we've already seen. Please go back to day 1, I think, to check that out. So we only have these 2, but we did pull another tarot card. That makes, I think, 3 now that we've pulled. And, oh, the past couple of days, I have not been able to remember the 4. It's wands. Wands, cups, pentacles, and swords. And then major arcana. And this that I just pulled is a major arcana card, so that's really cool. Okay, let's go ahead and let's look at Cyclops first. And like I said, with Cyclops in X-Men, he was happy just being a captain. The whole Summers family actually has this place on the blue side of the moon. It's the Summers estate, basically. And they all live together in perfect harmony. And Cyclops is happy up there. But as time goes on in the Dawn of X, he starts to realize there's a need for X-Men again. They need heroes. So, it's pretty cool. This Cyclops just has solely X-Men. And this is awesome. He's a recruiter. Power. Choose a character with the X-Men keyword in your KO area that hasn't been chosen for this effect and wasn't generated by a recruiter effect. If you do, generate a character with the X-Men keyword from your sideline that has a lower point value than the chosen character. This game, the generated character can't be replaced, and your opponent scores them immediately instead of when they are KO'd. So this is really cool because the recruiter effect we've seen on other pieces in HeroClix, you know, Avengers and such. We've seen it, but this is for the X-Men. And I think this is very, very specific because coming out of Ten of Swords, Cyclops has to petition the Quiet Council to go save his son. And he's like, there should be no way that I have to ask a bunch of politicians if I can go save Cable from Otherworld and save our Earth from Amenth and Arakko coming through the portal and killing everyone here on this planet. There should be no way that I have to go to the Quiet Council and beg you to let me do it. The Avengers don't go to the President of the United States and say, hey buddy, there's this alien invasion coming, can we please just go? No, he's like, no, we need X-Men again. I understand that we're a mutant nation and we all want to be equal, but we have to have somebody that protects this nation and does it in a proactive way, not in a reactive way, not in a bureaucratic, governmental way. And it's really, really cool. After he makes this speech, he goes to leave the Quiet Council because he's got this plan and that he's been putting together with Magic and with Jean. And he looks at Jean and he says, you know, are you ready? And she goes, I have just been waiting for you. So it's kind of like Jean has been there already, but she needed Scott to come around. And Scott has a lot of demons from the past decade. I mean, he killed Professor X. He was taken over by the Phoenix Force. Cyclops has had a lot of going on, right? And in this case, though, Cyclops knows what needs to be done. And there needs to be an X-Men again. And he's more pure again. He's had time with his family. He's had time to see what the world can be. And he's ready to fight for that dream and that hope again, which he did so steadfastly for years for Professor X. And then, you know, it finally broke him down. I mean, nobody's had to deal with as much as Cyclops in the mutant landscape for a long time. Losing his wife a number of times, losing his son, losing friends, losing his leadership position, losing his mentor, finding out that his mentor isn't what he thought he was, having a third brother show up. I mean, Cyclops has been through the ringer, and he needed a reset, and he got it through Dawn of X. Having that place on the moon and having his family there and having Nate, young Nate back, actually feeling like a son, I think put him in a place where he's like, I am ready to steadfastly and nobly fight for mutants once again, and I don't need to ask anybody if I can. And then he does that, and he leads the charge with the Sword Station coming through this portal that Magic creates and fighting off this incredible, incredible force of evil pouring out of Amenth at this point in the story. So very cool to see Cyclops, and the recruiter power I think works very well for him. Okay, X-23, here we go. Oh, put that in the wrong place, didn't I? There we go. Sorry, guys, a little whiplash for you. Hey, follow the card, everybody. Follow the card. Okay, X-23, we've got Weapon X, X-Force, X-Men, Assassin, and Martial Artist. I heal faster than Logan is a trait. At the beginning of your turn, you may heal X-23 one click. At the end of your turn, you may heal X-23 one click. What? What? X-Force Experience, Charge, Stealth. When X-23 uses Charge, if she occupies hindering terrain, she doesn't have speed. Blades Expert, Blades, Claws, Fangs. When X-23 uses it, instead roll 2d6 and choose one to be the result. And Unparalleled Healing, Stop. Each time this click is revealed, if X-23 is the only character on your force, KO her. Okay, so the stop click only works if there are multiple people on your force. Let's turn it over, and oh my gosh, yes. So can heal 2 clicks per turn at the beginning of your turn and then at the end of your turn. Has a stop click there at the end. Oof, wow. That is pretty impressive to me. I don't know about you guys. I'll show you how she looks here too. Now, Laura Kinney is not in Ten of Swords. What happens to her in all these new Hickman X-Men storylines is she is actually sent in, and I noticed that Sync is on the outside of the box. I didn't talk about it on day one. She is sent into the vault with Sync and Darwin. And she's sent there for a reason, because the children of the Vault are a very persistent enemy and threat to mutant kind. I think, so it's Homo sapien, Homo superior, and then the children of the Vault are Homo novissima, I think I'm saying that right. Homo novissima. Now, children of the Vault, this whole idea came about after decimation, after Scarlet Witch said no more mutants, and that power surged out into the world. These individuals, the children of the Vault, were created by a scientist and locked away in a ship. I think it was like off the coast of Peru, or I want to say Peru? I don't know. But they were locked in this ship, this temporal, time-displacing chamber on this ship. And they were supposed to be there until all life on Earth was extinguished. And then the pod was supposed to open, much like, I don't know, Fallout or any of these video games where like world destruction is necessary, and then this, super race of people is supposed to walk out and reestablish life on Earth. That's what was supposed to happen. But in their time, it goes much faster in the Vault. So they were this race that was created. They're not humans, they're not mutants, but they have superpowers that they have evolved over time, and they sat in this vault for a very long time, and then they came out into the world. And when they came out and said, oh, well, this is all wrong. These people aren't supposed to be here. These mutants aren't supposed to be here. And they set out to wipe out all sentient existence on the planet to replace them with themselves, the children of the Vault. Fast forward to Dawn of X, Dawn of X after House of X and Powers of 10. One of them, Seraphina, is found prisoner on an Orcus station. So Orcus has had a child of the Vault for a while, and has been experimenting on them as well as mutants. So trying to figure out how to end this, Homo novissima threat as well. And she's brought back to Krakoa and then eventually sent back into the Vault. But they know that they need to get rid of this problem. The mutants do. They know they need to get rid of it. So they take X-23, who has the greatest healing power they've ever seen, and they take Sync, who can copy or sync with somebody's power, utilize it himself sometimes or boost their power, and then they put Darwin, who has this capability to evolve as well, to kind of combat the evolution of the children of the Vault, and they're sent into the Vault. And until the other side of X of Swords, or 10 of Swords, you don't hear from them. So that's Laura Kinney before she goes into the Vault. I'm now interested to see if we get a Laura Kinney after she comes out of the Vault, when she's aged like hundreds of years or thousands of years inside of the Vault. Darwin bites it in there. Sync is super powerful now. Sync is a very interesting mutant. I hope we pull him at some point during this series, but Sync is interesting in the fact that when he was resurrected, Sync came out of, Sync is a mid-90s character that came out of the Phalanx Covenant, which if I pull him, I'll tell you more about it. But when he was resurrected on Krakoa, he had a power boost. And then he comes out of the Vault, and he's got an even stronger power boost. So some mutants, through resurrection and such, are expanding their powers, and that's a really cool path that we can go down too for the mutants. All right, here we go. The last thing that we pulled today, is this awesome card. See Warren Worthington there, Angel, Archangel. It's called Temperance. When a standard character successfully breaks away, that character's controller gains 1 mission point. Okay, so now we've got tarot cards interacting with mission points. We've got Rally Die in this set. We have Recruiter that we just saw today. There are a ton of game elements happening all at once here. I didn't think that we'd have any mission point cards. That's kind of really cool. Not a ton of mutant characters do or deal with mission points yet, but man, I didn't think that it would be affecting that. And that is one of your major arcana cards. So I said there's 4 suits and then there's major arcana. When you build a tarot deck, you can have a minimum of 5. That's 1 of each suit plus a major arcana card, or up to 12, which is 2 of each suit and 4 major arcana cards. So 2 of each of the 4 suits, that gives you 8, and then 4 major arcana. Now, if you've been playing long enough to remember Battlefield Conditions, that's kind of how I see the major arcana cards being. They are kind of battlefield condition-ish in a big way. But this kind of blew my mind. When a standard character successfully breaks away, that character's controller gains 1 mission point, and you can do a maximum of 3 per turn. So this is going to be very interesting to see, right? Because it's random. It's just like I said, Saturnine running the events within Ten of Swords are random. This is very random as well. Very, very interesting. Okay, today our bonus item is going to be, yes, the Ten of Swords miniatures game, which is coming out with the release of Ten of Swords. Now, if you haven't picked up any of these miniature games yet, I highly, highly recommend it. First and foremost, I want to say, I get the question all the time. When I played down in Alabama for the HeroClix for Huntington's event, when I was there in person talking to a ton of the community, people were saying, what do you think needs to happen for HeroClix to go on for another decade? And I said, we just need to continue to foster positivity in our own community and get people involved and get people interested. This is a game that can be very complex at times, but these miniature games are made in a way that I'm going to start teaching my 7-year-old son how to play based on the bare dials of some of these characters. There are basic dials of figures in this miniatures game that help as a teaching tool, as well as some really sneaky secondary dials that can be very useful. All you need to do is look back at one of the past sets and look at a Watu or something along those lines. So what comes in a miniatures set is this really awesome box, first and foremost. You get 10 characters, usually 10 heroes, usually 10 villains. I mean, not 10 heroes and 10 villains, that would be 20. 5 heroes, 5 villains for a set of 10 characters, which is what we get here. And it's actually sating my thirst for sword bearers, because I haven't been pulling a whole bunch of them, but here I have them. I have all sword bearers here. This is awesome. You get a set of dice. They match the dice that we pulled with the 2 crossed swords in the shape of an X for the Ten of Swords event. And I'll put these guys over here. And then you get a ton of other goodies. Now, you get a rule book, a powers and abilities card, as well as a map, but in a map that doesn't come in the foldable paper map style. No, you get a map that comes in these boards. And my kids absolutely love playing with these. And I gotta tell you, they're pretty darn cool on a solid, like on a table. Putting them together is very, very easy. Oh yes, Blightspoke is gonna be one of the maps that's awesome. So we saw Limbo, and we saw Avalon. Avalon is one of the fair kingdoms of Otherworld, and it's ruled by Jamie Braddock. It used to be ruled by Merlin before he was deposed by Morgan Le Fay. And now you also have Otherworld Starlight Citadel Ballroom, which is where they have a huge dinner scene that takes place the night before the Ten of Swords competition begins. All the sword bearers from Morocco and all the sword bearers from Krakoa are all gathered eating this extensively exquisite meal from like the last fish egg of Dryador, because Arako's completely killed everybody in Dryador, and also like these alien, delicacies and these like space dust drinks and all this crazy stuff. And while they're there, you see all of these sword bearers who know they're going to fight to the death starting the next morning, very civilly talking to each other, sizing each other up. You've got Cable and Magic, who are so young, and they are looking around the room and being like, right-handed, left-handed, right-handed. And then they see this character called Iska the Unbeaten. Iska's mutant power is she can't lose. So whenever Iska changes sides, you know you're screwed. So Arako went into Amenth, right? They went down to Amenth, and they were winning for hundreds of years. They built these towers and these protective barriers around their island, and they were fending off these hordes and hordes of Amenth demons and evil people. But one day, this character, this Annihilation, shows up, and Annihilation is this awful, awful helmet that is pure evil and you know, commands the hordes of Amenth. And when Annihilation shows up, Iska switches sides, and Arakko knows that they're about to fall. And that's when Apocalypse's wife, Genesis, who went into Amenth with the rest of the Arakkans to protect Earth, basically, and sent him through the portal, sent Apocalypse through the portal, to try and find the fittest, the bravest, the strongest warriors. That's why survival of the fittest is Apocalypse's thing. They're down there, Iska switches sides, and Arakko goes, this is it, we've got to make a deal. And they make a deal, and they become a part of this horrible Amenthian annihilation force. And that's when they charge through the gate into Otherworld, kill everything in Dryador. But Iska is in the room, and you've got Teenage Cable and Magic, and they walk over and they're like, what about her? We can't tell. We can't. They both walk over and they both drop their glasses at the same time. And she grabs both of them. Iska catches both of them and looks up and goes, not a drop spilled. And they're like, we're trying to figure out if you're right or left-handed. She's like, both. And they're like, ambidextrous. I see. Gorgon's there too, I think. Wonderful, wonderful scenes. Wolverine's getting drunk at the bar. He's all pissed at Brian Braddock because Saturnine, who is running this entire thing, she loves Brian Braddock, and she wants the Captain Britain Corps back. And she also wants the heart of Brian Braddock, but he's married and he has a kid and he will not give himself to Saturnine, and it really bums Saturnine out. And Wolverine's just pissed. He's like, you know, if Brian Braddock would just hook up with the lady in white over there, we wouldn't even have to have this tournament, because they don't know what they're fighting. And they know that Saturnine is forcing them to fight, but they're not sure yet what the stakes are. So this map, the Otherworld Starlight Citadel Ballroom, incredible. Otherworld, Blightspoke. Oh man, Blightspoke is a kingdom of Otherworld where failed galaxies end up. And so Blightspoke is this huge, infinite realm where failed or dead or ended galaxies end up. And there's this really cool sheriff and these, you know, her gang, her posse that go in there and they mine a lot of very rare materials. And it's kind of the wild, wild west Blightspoke. So that's going to be such a cool map once you put it all together. I'm sure there's an image of it up online. So in the miniatures game, you get the dice, you get the figures. You also get this very, very cool concept of playing thematically through a campaign within this. So you get these really cool kind of campaign or scenario cards. And, you know, Ten of Swords is the closest that you get to like D&D with X-Men. And so this idea of a campaign is really, really cool to me. Now, not only do you get these 10 figures, I said 5 heroes, 5 villains. Actually, you do get 10 dials of each of the heroes and 10 dials of the villains, because each figure has 2 dials on it. A basic dial and then a dial with some bells and whistles. And you can play with either one, and as you play with it, you can start to play with some of the you know, more interesting ones. Whoa! You also get tarot cards in here. I didn't know that. Look at this. Yeah, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tarot cards in here, as well as all of these tokens here. We'll go top down for a second. Wow, yeah. A white sword bystander token, a bay bystander token. What? A kitten? Oh yes, the kitten! No way! Sevalith Vampire. Sevalith is one of the kingdoms of Otherworld. The kitten. What? There is a competition. So the competition's in, okay, this is crazy. The kitten is killing me. In the competition, they show up the next morning and they think that it's just going to be battles to the death. And the first one is Iska the Unbeaten versus Betsy Braddock. Betsy Braddock has the Starlight Sword given to her by Saturnine. She wants to be Captain Britain very badly. Betsy Braddock does. But Saturnine does not want her to be Captain Britain. She feels that if Betsy Braddock is a Captain Britain, that the Captain Britain Corps is completely corrupted and she will never have her defensive system again. She wants the most noble individual. That's why she loves Brian Braddock the way she does. Betsy, upon first hitting Iska's sword, shatters into 1,000,000 pieces and then is swept up into a bin and taken to Saturnine quarters. Point to a Rocco. You're like, what? Wait a minute, what? Is Betsy dead? How does this work, right? But then the second competition is Doug Ramsey Cypher versus Bay the Moonblade. But it's not a sword fight. It's a wedding. And they get married. And both sides get a point. You're like, wait a minute, what is happening here? Then it goes on to, there's a giant alligator monster thing with 6 arms called Pog-Ear Pog. He is a sellsword, so he is one of the swords of Morocco. He is actually Amenthian in nature. He is not from Morocco, he's from Amenth. And he shows up against Magic, and they're like, this duel is arm wrestling. And you're like, wait a minute, wait, what? Arm wrestling? One of the competitions is kill a kitten. Kill a kitten. So this cute little kitten here is looking up, and I think it's, man, I can't remember who competes in that one. And the Morocco side is like, all right. And the Krakoan side is like, you wouldn't dare kill that kitten. And then, you know, point to Morocco, so you know what happens. But did you guys see? This kitten has a 21 defense. That kitten has 21 defense. No movement. It could still deal 1 damage. What? I got to see how this thing is put out there. But the Sevalith vampires, okay. The Sevalith vampires live in one of the foul realms. It is a whole like Game of Thrones style vampire society that stays within their own borders. Bay being here is interesting. White Sword being here is interesting. You get all these tokens. You get barrier tokens, action tokens, all these bystander tokens. Like I said, you get a powers and abilities card. You get a rule book. The powers and abilities card has X of Swords on it or 10 of Swords on it. It's the most current that you have. And yeah, that's pretty rad. I'm still blown away that the kitten is a part of this all. So, like I said, you got scenarios. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scenario cards. Brawl in the Ballroom is the first one. Battle in Blightspoke is number 2. Calamity at the Edge of Reality. A dance-off. Yeah, there's a dance-off. Doug Ramsey has to do a dance-off. Rocco Substitute Wolverine. The Task is What? Among the Vampires of Sevalith. And the final battle for Otherworld. Wow, okay, that's awesome. Let's take a look at the figures first. We'll start off with somebody we haven't seen, which is Storm. And Storm's going to have 2 cards here. Everybody's going to have 2 cards, so we'll put them out here. Okay. You've got an A and a B. I'll switch them for you guys so you can have one on the left and one on the right. The sculpt is pretty awesome. And she has the sword of Wakanda. She has Skybreaker. Now, when the meteorite came down and forged all of Wakanda, basically, this sword was forged out of by their first ruler, and the vibranium sword led the way for them for quite a long time. That sculpt is really cool. And she has to go there and steal it from Wakanda. That's her sword quest. She has Marauders, Morlocks, Quiet Council, Wakanda, X-Men, and Pirate keywords. That is for both of them. The A dial, pretty simple. A lot of stealth there, maybe to signify her stealing that sword. Her B dial has Fighting Death, Charge, and Stealth Veteran, a special defense power, combat reflexes, and willpower. See the differences there for Storm. Those are her 2 dials. So like I said, there's a basic dial and a basic card, and then there's the more involved version. Okay, let's go to Magic next. Here's Magic's A card and Magic's B card. We've already seen her sculpt, so I'm not going to worry about it. You've got Magic with New Mutants, X-Force, X-Men, and mystical keywords. It's the same for both of the versions, of course. You can see back here she's got Leap, Climb, some Flurry. This card has a special power, And that special power is from Limbo, charge and leap climb together. So not too shabby. All right. Next up, young Cable. So, of course, her sword, which we don't get any swords in the miniatures game. So I just wanted to put that out. You're not going to get any of the swords, but you are getting all sword bearers, which is really, really cool. They, however, do not have that sword bearer trait, right? So what you see is what you get here. They can't be equipped with a sword to start. But here comes Cable with his Sword of Galador. He's got Sword, X-Force, X-Men, Future, Past, Soldier, and Warrior. All very useful keywords. Take a look at the back of the dial here. And there's his B counterpart with 2 special powers, which are Body Slide, Charge, Free, Place Cable in an adjacent square. Oh, that's awesome. And then I Survived into the Future with Super Senses and Toughness. I like that Body Slide. You charge, and then you free, place cable in an adjacent square. So you charge in, and then you can free bounce back a square. That's pretty cool. Next up, let's go with Wolverine. Again, pretty easy here. You've got Weapon X, X-Force, X-Men, Soldier, Warrior. You've got a trait on the B dial, Berserker Rage, Battle Fury, free. If Wolverine has 1 or more action tokens, turn his dial to a click of your choice between 7 and 11. I know that sounds high, but remember, the dial is split, right? So one figure uses this dial, right? So you can turn to 7, which is the starting click, or 11, which is his final click, where he has Flurry, 12 attack with blades. Yeah, that's for 40 points. Woo! Not bad. That Wolverine's pretty darn good, actually. Our last of our Krakoan sword bearers is Gorgon. Here we go, Gorgon. Okay. Gorgon has Dark Avengers, Hydra, The Hand, X-Men, and Martial Artist. See dial 1 there. Dial 2 has a special movement power, Grass Cutter and God Killer. Charge, Flurry. When Gorgon hits after resolutions, you may give an action token to an adjacent opposing character to signify that second sword, I guess, there. Yeah? Okay. Solemn, our first Arakan sword bearer. Let me switch those for you guys. Sorry. Whoop. Okay. We've already seen Solemn's sculpt. Also note, you can go back and look at the values of each of the A dials and B dials. 30 and 40 have been pretty consistent. There have been a couple of that have had different pricing. This one's 40 as well. No special powers on the B dial, but you do have, you do have a special defense power, advanced longevity, a stop click at the very end, regeneration, and toughness. You see it there, that final click with the 18. Okay, Iska the Unbeaten, we talked about a little bit here as well. Okay, Iska the Unbeaten has a special damage power on her B dial. I don't lose enhancement and outwit. So there's your A dial. Here's your B dial. I know I'm moving pretty quickly here. You guys can go ahead and pause and, take all the information for yourself. You've also got War. I'm very excited to see War. I haven't seen any of the Horsemen yet. Now, only two of the Horsemen actually battle in the Ten of Swords tournament proper, and that is War and her brother Death. War, again, is Summoner's mother. See the back of the dial there, running shot. That leads into hypersonic speed. Rocco, Horseman, Soldier, and Warrior keywords. Daughter of Apocalypse, free. Choose one to last until your next turn. Energy Shield Deflection or Penetrating Psychic Blast. So you can go defensively or offensively depending on where you are on the board. Wow, that's a pretty good dial for 40 points there. Pretty impressed with War. War has a rough go of it in Ten of Swords. What happens is Solemn, I think I told you in one of the other unboxing videos, Solemn makes a deal with Wolverine that you will step in and fight for me at a certain point. At a certain point, one of the competitions is a drinking competition, but it's not a Rocco versus Krakoa. It's Wolverine versus Storm. And they drink this special space liquor that takes their powers away, including Wolverine's ability to heal. War is then picked to have a fight, a duel to dismemberment, I believe, against Solemn, while the drinking competition is going on. Solemn then says, I would like to request my favor now. I made a deal with a man, and I want him to take my place. And Saturnine teleports Wolverine onto this asteroid in Blightspoke, where he is supposed to fight War to dismemberment. And he ends up cutting off War's hand, even though he's drunk. He starts to get his healing factor back at some point, but Wolverine takes a beating. But Solemn then leaves the competition completely and ends up in Earth, which is a pretty cool turn. Okay, you've got Death here. Death is really cool in the books. Death actually battles Storm shortly thereafter when Storm is powerless. And that takes place in Sevalith. You've got Death with Araco, Horseman, and Warrior. Son of Apocalypse, choose one to last until your next turn. Combat reflexes or exploit weakness. So much like War, you can choose one of those powers every turn. One's offensive, one is defensive. Death's powers are very cool, but what Death has that is the most dangerous is this Death Stare, where he pulls off his helmet, and if you look into the face of Death, you start to perish. And he does it to Storm. And there's this really cool moment. Actually, the night of the banquet, Storm and Death dance. And she talks about the fact that she's one of the few X-Men that has never actually died, but she has danced with Death her entire life. And it's this really, really cool scene between the two of them. It comes back in the sword fight when they're fighting each other. And he has had enough at a certain point, and he takes his helmet off. And she puts up the sword in front of her, and she rushes him. He sees his own face, and then she stabs him. And they're in Sevalith, which is the land of the vampires. And it's first to bleed is the fight, is a fight to the person, to the first to bleed. And she steps back, and she looks around at the court of vampires around her as they're in this Sevalith, gladiatorial space. And she says, well, he's bleeding, isn't he? And she basically guts Death. And all these vampires come down, and they rip him apart. And at the very end of Ten of Swords, it shows Death standing in front of the king and queen of Sevalith. Is Death a vampire horseman of apocalypse now? I don't know. Anyway, okay, Summoner. Here we go. Last but not least. Oh, man, this miniatures game has so much good stuff in it. Let me switch them around here for you. Summoner, the grandson of Apocalypse and the Great Traitor against Krakoa. He tricks some of the characters to come through the gate with Apocalypse, and then he ambushes them. He kills Banshee, basically, or he kills Rockslide, tries to kill Banshee, wounds him. They capture Unis the Untouchable, and they wound Apocalypse. Summoner has Manipulative Liar, which fits. Smoke Cloud, Poison, and when Summoner uses it, he treats opposing characters occupying his smoke cloud markers as adjacent. So he can stab through those smoke cloud markers. He turns on Apocalypse and sends Apocalypse back through the gate. Rockslide cannot be resurrected, and a lot of things go poorly from then on out. And it's all because Summoner, who showed up claiming that he needed help from the island of Krakoa, he needs to bring Araco back. He plays on Apocalypse, who wants so badly to see his children again. He plays on Apocalypse's emotions and gets away with it. And Darnio kills Apocalypse. So that is Summoner for you. We haven't seen him in the main set. Tarot cards. Here's a quick look at the rules. I know I've explained them to you a little bit already, but if you want to screenshot that, or if you want to pause now and read this, go ahead. What we get in this set is the Four of Wands. You can see that there. When a character that can use exploit weakness makes a close attack after resolutions, deal 1 penetrating damage to each opposing character adjacent to the hit target. What? It's like penetrating energy explosion, but close. That is insane. You've got the Five of Pentacles. When a character uses charge, they modify speed by +2. What? You've got, oh yes, the Nine of Swords. Oh, Betsy. When a character that can use Precision Strike makes an attack, the attack can't be evaded, and damage taken from the attack can't be reduced below 2 instead of 1. Oh, signifying kind of her betrayal at the hands of Saturnine there. You've got the Ace of Cups. When a character uses super senses, increase the result of the roll by +1. Ugh. We already have a lot of super duper senses out there that succeed on a 4 through 6. If you play that card at the right time, they're succeeding on a roll of 3 through 6. What? And then you've got the Devil. When a character attacks after resolutions, deal them 1 penetrating damage for each 6 in the finalized attack roll. So there you have it. Those are all the tarot cards you get as a part of the miniatures game. You get all of these figures, multiple dials on each one of them. You get the 2 awesome maps that have a lot of import to the actual events of Ten of Swords. You get the rule book, the powers and abilities card, and then you get these scenarios, which are pretty cool. I'm just going to go through them really quickly so you can see them. You've got Brawl in the Ballroom, Battle in the Blight Spoke, Calamity at the Edge of Reality, a Dance-Off, a Rocco Substitute Wolverine, The Task is What? Oh yeah, there's a boulder pushing contest, which is hilarious, but that's Sink and Laura Kinney, by the way, when they come back through the vault. You've got Among the Vampires of Sevalith, and the final battle for Otherworld. So there you go. A sneak peek on all of that. Guys, that is all we have for today, and it was an awful lot. That was pretty awesome. I'm so stoked for the miniatures game version of this. You know, the main set has a lot of characters from different parts of the mutant multiverse or mutant universe thing right now, but they're not all involved in Ten of Swords. That thing is solely Ten of Swords. So if you read the event, pick up that miniatures game. It's going to be awesome. Anyway, that is it for today. I know these videos are a little longer, but we have so much to cram in here every single day, and I hope you guys are enjoying every minute of it. I got to say thank you to you guys for sitting here, watching, and spending some story time with Sassy Scott, your unboxing champ here. We've also got to say thank you to HeroClix for WizKids for sending us this incredible brick. We got to say thank you to Hyper RPG Studios in beautiful Universal City, California. Knox on the board, just keeping us going here, making sure you guys get the up-close look at all of this awesome stuff. Got to say thank you, of course, to everybody that showed up for the HeroClix for Huntington's event to raise some money for a great cause. Over $27,000 raised for the HDSA, the Huntington's Disease Society of America. One of those generous donors won everything that I'm pulling here and was a major contributor to that $27,000 raised. I got to say thank you to Ryan Redman. This will all be coming to you on the final day of the episodes releasing. So on day 5 of the episodes releasing to the public, I will put this all in the mail and send it your way, my guy. I got to say thank you so much to you. Your question for today was, how do I think tarot cards are going to affect the game? Up until today, I didn't think they were going to affect it incredibly much, but the more I see of them, the potency that they have, the things that they are starting to do, the fact that they are interacting not just with figures on the board, but with mission points now, I'm super excited about them. The random nature of them is very much Ten of Swords. I like how it ties in thematically, but man, gameplay is gonna be tricky. I expect people to probably rock smaller decks to try and, cut down on how random they're gonna be. But who knows, man? You might have a team that is incredibly varied, and you might find some use for a bunch of these cards. I don't even know how many there are. I mean, it just seems like they are coming one after the other. And spoiler alert for tomorrow, I have more on the way. I have WizKids sent me 7 more to preview for you guys tomorrow in day 4. So I love them. The random nature is kind of crazy, but they are very potent. And I thought if they were milquetoast, maybe I wouldn't be as excited, but they're not. They're not at all. So anyway, I hope everybody's enjoying this unboxing series. I know I am. Maybe a little too much. Maybe I'm talking a little too much, but I hope you guys are enjoying it. I will see you tomorrow, and until I do, may all your rolls be critical hits.